Charlie Kirk creams a race-baiting college professor. Guys, you're not going to want to miss this. This is a good one. I don't know about you, but I always love to see Charlie Kirk absolutely hand it to somebody, especially when it's a college professor specifically, because unlike the students, these people are smart, or at least in theory they are. Obviously, they aren't always as smart as they think, as we're going to see right in a moment. And I think it makes for a more fair and interesting matchup, and it really lets the best of the best with those two ideologies face off. So I really enjoy that. I think you're going to like it too, and we're going to get right into it. But first, everybody, help me out, all right? Do me a big favor over here. Like our video, share it around, and if you're new, subscribe to the Resist Mainstream YouTube channel so we can keep bringing you guys this hard-hitting content. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much. We're so glad to have you back. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the show.
Given the concerns you've expressed about censorship and interference with free speech, I wonder how you view the laws in Florida and other states that restrict what professors can teach about racism in the classroom. I mean, obviously you disagree with the doctrines you teach, but why, would you extend to them the same right to free speech that you advocate for everybody else?
No, I mean, it's a matter of curriculum, right? So I would ask a question, should we teach the flat earth theory in physics, right? Should we teach bloodletting in biology? Should we teach lobotomies in medical school? Or should we teach eugenics in ethics? No, there's some ideas that are so reprehensible and provably wrong, they shouldn't be in anywhere close to an academic environment. Now, a professor obviously has the freedom of speech to say what he or she wants individually, but from a curriculum standpoint, from what you're able to measure or test, to say that all of a sudden we're going to teach that race matters, that somehow that people are suffering from a pandemic of whiteness, as Coca-Cola would say, or just critical theory or critical race theory, no, that has no place in an educational environment, because in an educational environment, it's less about really the opinion of the teacher or the opinion of the student. It's the pursuit of the soul and the entire being of the student towards truth, goodness, and beauty. And so you must have a teleological destination for that. Yes, a follow-up.
Just one follow-up, which is, so you would say that the idea that...
To Charlie Kirk's point, here's a question where I think both the right and the left, amazingly enough, might find some agreement, at least most people who identify that way. Can we have professors in university teach students that the soldiers of a certain mustached man who lived in Germany in the 1940s should be revered and treated as great people, heralded as heroes, and taught to be an example to follow? Something tells me that professor over there would say no. And same with most people, whether they're left-wing or right-wing. Well, why not? It's free speech after all, right? If we don't let them say those kinds of things, we're restricting their speech. We're anti-free speech. We're anti-First Amendment. Obviously, nobody actually believes that, right? At the end of the day, in a society, there are certain things you tolerate and don't tolerate, especially in an academic setting where the taxpayer is being forced to fund something, like in the example of public universities. Point being that it's not so simple as, well, you're pro-free speech if you let them say whatever, and you're anti-free speech if you don't let them say whatever. And by the way, these left-wingers, we all know that none of them, I repeat, none of them would even think about allowing somebody with, say, very far-right conservative views to be a professor at a university. Think about it. They always get fired immediately.
Yes, a follow-up.
Just one follow-up, which is, so you would say that the idea that there's systemic racism in this country is as off base as the idea that the earth is flat and as provably wrong as the idea that the earth is flat?
Yes, I mean, I would ask you, how are we systemically racist?
Well, I mean, we could have a long discussion about it, but I'm a journalist. I don't think it's a place for it, but...
Yeah, okay. He's a journalist who's got no bias or agenda whatsoever, just like Joe Biden is a good president who's managing the American economy well. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hold up. Biden's economy is terrible, guys, but luckily there are some things you can do about it. One of those things is invest in precious metals, namely with Goldco. Guys, Goldco is a great company. They're highly rated, great customer service, and they will even give you a free gold kit to help you get started because they know it's a big decision. So check it out, guys. Go to rtmgold.com. You click the link in the description, type in your web browser. There are plenty of great reasons to invest in gold. One of which, with Goldco, is that you can roll over your IRA and 401k penalty and tax-free, all while having a real precious metal and asset that you can own and touch. So check it out, guys. Go to rtmgold.com. You can click the link in the description or type in your web browser. Once again, that's rtmgold.com.
Possibly if you attended a class on it, you might get in a debate with the professor and see what their data shows and whether it's a matter of scholarly dispute. I mean, there's a lot of books on both sides, or whether it's as... I'm not aware of a lot of scholarly, accepted books that advocate that the Earth is flat. So I would say this is a matter of scholarly debate.
There
These
was
others are
till
matter of
Galileo
belief.
came along.
Boom. Got him good right there, Charlie. Let's see more of this professor smashing, because it's a lot of fun.
When it comes to healthcare, not only do I have a moral complaint that it's not the role of government, it's also not good at doing it,
Well,
and it also hurts the everyday common man.
I don't,
So I have two.
I don't think either of those things are true.
But I have a moral argument, and I also have a utilitarian argument. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Let's start with the moral argument, because I am very unclear on this, because why is it that having public firefighters or public police is not overreach, but having public health care is? Why would it be objectionable if instead of having public fire services that everybody gets to use, you had everybody just having to have private fire insurance, and if you had a better private fire insurance plan, they'd probably put out your fire, faster. Or maybe we had public fire insurance, but only for people, the poorest people or the oldest people, which would be the exact equivalent for healthcare, or the same thing for policing, the equivalent, for like security insurance, because all of these things seem very similar to me, because having your house burned down, being victimized by a crime, or needing chemotherapy, those are all cases where your life and limb is in danger. Like, these seem pretty parallel to me. What do you see as the big disanalogy?
So the first problem is mostly local, police and fire, so therefore it's more accountable.
Okay.
So the dollars don't go to some sort of albatross to the kingdom of Washington, D.C. of unelected, unknown, kind of just unchecked bureaucrats. That's number one. Number two, we do have a system in the country, despite what you're saying, where if you need health care, you will be taken care of. Is it broken? Is it
what
inadequate?
I just said, though, right?
Well, hold on a second. It's already, I'm saying it is illegal to deny someone service of care. Illegal. Now, do we have problems with our healthcare system? Do you think if you could put me in a room and I could strike a huge bargain with you? I think that there are elements of the German system that are admirable. I will say that. Where you have a public system and a private system. Where I start to all of a sudden say timeout, no go, no fly zone, is where I hear people like Bernie Sanders, and I'm paraphrasing, who want to get rid of private insurance as we know it. That's a big mistake. Healthcare, here's how I think the biggest problem with healthcare is. It's not individualized. It's way too bureaucratic, way too top-down. And yes, we have pharmaceutical companies that are addicting people to drugs that they should not be addicted to. We have a sick care problem in our country. And I agree with a lot of people on the left with this. On this, maybe we'll agree that we have an obesity problem, we have a problem of how we get our food, we have a corporate farming problem. I agree with all those things. Do I think that a government-run system of healthcare that will be more similar to how the IRS or how the Postal Service works, that's somehow going to be the solution to that? Absolutely not.
Well,
But
If you think that we need to have some kind of top-down government-run socialized healthcare, just take a look at how the U.S. government handled the COVID-19 outbreak. How do you think that went? The good old benevolent government and the CDC, so eager to take care of their health, so eager, in fact, to take care of our health, that they shut down the gyms. Because that makes complete sense. And then they told us to stay home, avoid sunlight, avoid the beach, don't be human, stay in a box, sit there and wait. That's how they handle healthcare.
you put me in a room.
The Postal Service is amazing, and I do
Whoa.
not think.
Can you say that again?
The Postal Service is amazing. It has been an engine of upward mobility. It has been
All right,
an engine
that's,
of racial equality. If you building the black middle class, massively an engine of that.
Have you ever used the Postal Service?
I have, and the Postal Service will carry a letter from here to Alaska.
So will FedEx.
For no, not for the same price, and they're certainly not going to serve.
You know it's going to get there.
No, I do not know that, and it's certainly not going to do it. It's never going to get there with as much service to out-of-the-way rural areas.
I got to give you credit.
Anything.
I've never heard anyone defend the post office.
Like it's cheap. Well, you need to talk to more people, because like the post office is an amazing institution, and it should be massively expanded. In fact, one of the best things I think they have in some of those Scandinavian countries is postal banking, which, if we did that, Bernie Sanders' proposal would immediately put out of business all the payday loan vampires that prey on unbanked people, would create millions of new, good unionized jobs. Postal Service is great, but
I will say, while I don't know about the specific policy the guy's speaking to and can't pass an opinion on that, I hate these payday loan companies with a passion. I've been blessed enough that I never have to deal with one, thank God, but they're disgusting. They'll give somebody with terrible credit a loan, somebody who they know has bad credit, and then put some kind of crazy interest rate. I'm not even kidding. I've heard of interest rates as high as 26%. That's not a joke. And while that person's in a financial hole, keep slapping on more and more debt onto them. It's profoundly disgusting, and I'd argue it's usury, and it's totally unbiblical and should be illegal as far as I'm concerned. Call me Call me anti-free market, call me anti-capitalist, call me a socialist, whatever, I don't care. At the end of the day, capitalism is great, but sometimes the sharks need to put in their place. That's my honest view on that.
I do want to go back because I don't want this to get,
I got
I don't want this to get lost,
The post office lost hundreds of thousands of packages and was 6 months late. That's who you want to run our healthcare system?
I think that, well, first of all, I think that if you actually have a fairer look at the numbers, I think the Postal Service does do a really good job. I think that oftentimes when people say no, they are not using the same metrics to evaluate it they'd use to evaluate everything else. But if you want to know something that would be very much like what Medicare for All would be like if we had it in the United States, then I'd say looking at delivery of packages is probably not what you want to do. What you probably want to look at is countries like Canada, where they already have Medicare for All.
And in Canada, Medicare for All is a disaster. There are people who will go there with a broken leg and they get ignored at the emergency room because they put people with cuts and bruises ahead of them because they don't even have triage there. That's how crazy Canada is. Well, everybody, that laps up Charlie's last interaction with a socialist professor that we have to show you guys for today. We really hope you enjoyed it. As always, everybody, please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, and God bless.